Let's take a look at it. Can you talk about maybe what this symbolizes to you, or symbolizes in terms of the look of it?
Well, I think it leads us back in history to, it looks to be like maybe Greek athletes in possibly the first Olympic Games, God knows how long ago. And I think that's what they were doing in memory of those great days.
Now, where was this medal before you went to Harvard and gave it to them, which was the next, November 19, 2010, is that correct?
That's correct. The medal, when I first brought it home, I showed it to my family, and I put it on a shelf, and it sat for a while on the shelf, and then I had to dust the shelf from time to time. Pretty soon I put it on my bureau, and before you know it, I put it in my sock drawer. And so somebody would visit and they said, "Can I see your Olympic medal?" Yeah, and I would dig into the sock drawer, bring it out, and for that day it would reside on the dining room table and back in the sock drawer. Yeah. And I realized that that's where it was staying for years and years, and I talked to my kids about it some years ago, and they, of course, all decided they would like to have it. I have 3 kids, much grandchildren. And I realized that probably that medal would wind up in somebody's sock drawer. And I thought, what can I do with this that it gets to someplace special? And on a lark, I called up the diving coach at Harvard, and I told him about that. And I said, "Would you guys have any interest in having a medal?" And he said, "Oh, yes, absolutely." And we got very busy, and so I shipped it to them, and they liked it a lot. And it turns out it was the first time a Harvard Olympian ever gave a medal to Harvard. And as far as I know, it's still the only Olympic medal at Harvard. And there are hundreds of Harvard Olympians not still alive, but since 1896, I think, when the first Harvard athlete competed in the Olympic Games. But for some reason, this is the only medal there, which is kind of neat. And so when anybody wants to see it, I give them the website, and they can look at it, or if they happen to be in Boston, they can run over to Cambridge and see the medal. That's what it is.
Yeah, now you were the only diving medalist for Harvard, is that correct?
Yes.
The only one, so that's even better. And this is their, I think, the 70th anniversary of the Harvard swimming team, is that correct?
80th.
80th.
Yeah, that was a coincidence. It didn't occur to me that would happen at the same time, but that's when it happened. I gave them the medal, and they were busy conjuring up this reunion, and it turned out it became a bigger deal than any of us thought.
Now, this picture of you sitting on the diving board, is that at Harvard too?
Yes.
Okay.
That's not the diving board or the pool that I competed in when I was in college. This is new and wonderful and
So yeah, wait till you laugh.
Right.
Give you a good one. Okay, that's great. And I noticed that you've got on something interesting. You've got on your little blazer here from the USA. Still fits, don't you hate it? And you had a hat, I believe. It's right behind you. John's going to get it for you.
Oh, yes. This was our, you might recall that we had a new president by the name of Lyndon Johnson in 1964, and he gave us all the U.S. Olympians got cowboy hats to wear in honor of our new president, Lyndon Johnson. And so this is what we wore. As a matter of fact, this was my presentation uniform,
Wow.
and with a hat. And what's a little strange, I'd love to be able to tell you about the opening ceremonies because I watched them very carefully. But the following day was the first day of competition for diving. And they didn't want any of the divers to be walking around, hanging around, standing around for hours, hours and hours getting ready to march in. So I got to wear the hat and jacket, not at the opening ceremonies.
Okay, back to the beginning. There's a picture here of Queens Village, that's Queens, New York. Tell me about growing up there.
Growing up in Queens Village was wonderful. We're actually in the city of New York. Now you have to remember that the city of New York, I was an hour and a half away from Manhattan, less than so. But in Queens, I went to PS 33, and that was a grammar school, kindergarten to 8th grade. And we lived there, I think, I was born in 1937. I think we moved there around 1938, and I lived there until I was about 17 and went away to college.
And you had a couple of siblings, right? Six?
I'm the baby of 6. The closest one to me is 8 years older than me.
So, and these they were just, you know, they just sat around and read books all the time.
Yeah, they were all athletes, which was terrific for me because I learned to run, I learned to jump, high jump, swim, you name it. If they found a sport, they taught me to juggle. I don't know if you remember what you call wonder sticks or something. With it, you got a spinning devil sticks. So I was doing a number of different athletic sports, including basketball, baseball, football, and they all were very active, and so was I.
And they called them the Flying Gormans? What's that all about?
The Flying Gormans, that was a sports name that they made for, I was not one of the Flying Gormans. There were 5 Flying Gormans. And there was Georgie, who played basketball, Bobby, who dove, Sis, who ran track, Tom, who swam and ran long distance, and Ken, who sprinted and played basketball. And then it was me.
Now, if you can turn around just slightly, what's going on there with the handstand?
Oh, now these flying, okay, these are my brothers. That's Tom, George in the Navy outfit, and Ken, and that's me at the bottom, thinking I'm a big deal. And that's my brother George on the bottom, and that's me on the top. And, so that's the kind of things that we did to play. They would think of something to do, and that's what we would do. So I learned stuff like that.
Now, Lake Tonetta.
Lake Tonetta is, my parents rented a cottage in Lake Tonetta, and it was about a 2-hour drive from New York, close to Danbury, Connecticut, probably 10 miles from Danbury, Connecticut, and I learned to swim there. I didn't learn to swim until I was about 7, but it turns out I could dive. I could run off the pier, and I could somersault, and I could land up head first, but I have to make sure they got my feet on the bottom so I could get back to shallow water because I couldn't swim. And that's like my parents kept taking us there. Matter of fact, I wound up lifeguarding there when I got into college. I think I started lifeguarding at actually age 15 because I was a pretty good swimmer. And I made $1.50 an hour. And so I was at Lake Tonetta when I was home from school. I spent summers there until I graduated.
Freckles?
That's freckles. Freckles and red hair. I was
Remember that he had red hair.
red. I didn't realize I didn't have red hair for just a few years ago. I realized that. I'm getting a little gray.
And look at that body. The bodybuilder that you were. So the skinny kid goes to high school, and what happens?
Oh,
I call it naked ambition because he's going to tell a story about that.
when I got to high school, I thought I went out for basketball, and I reported to the gymnasium, and I looked around, and I realized that I'm 4'11", 88 pounds, and every other guy in the room made me realize that I guess I'm not going to make the basketball team. So I ran and found the track coach and found out that track didn't start until spring. So I went to the swimming pool, and I waited to get the coach's attention, and he's busy looking over my head, looking for 6-foot-tall boys with feet this big, and I realized I'm in the same situation here. And I looked down the end of the pool, and there was a diving board, and I said to the coach, "Do you have divers?" And he said, "Can you dive, kid?" And I said, "Yes." And I wasn't sure whether I really dove or not, because I just did it off the end of a pier for that many years. And so I ran down to the end of the pool, and he said, "Okay, get undressed and get on the board." That's the first time I realized that in New York City high schools, boys swam naked. And now I'm getting ready to go on the diving board. There's like 50 boys in the stands, and I'm naked. Of course, I'm 4'11", 98 pounds. I don't look like a man. I look like a little kid. Anyway, I jump up on the diving board, and I did a front 1.5.
Oh, that's impressive.
And he turned and he said, "Hey, kid, do that again." I must have done 25 front 1.5s. And every swimmer that came in from the locker room, he would say, "Hey, Red, do that dive again." And so I must have done another 25. And that day, I made it into the swimming team at Bayside High School as a diver.
And you didn't do very well, did you?
I did well.
And there's a lot of your medals. For 4 years you got medals, right?
High schools in those days were 4 years, and I competed in the Public School Athletic League of New York diving championship, and lo and behold, I won that year. And then I won all 4 years, and it had never been done before. And now, because schools are only sophomore, junior, senior, it can never be equal.
So you're in the record books for good.
Yeah. It's not a big deal, but it's one of those things that's kind of fun. But yeah.
So about your sophomore years, people started noticing that you were winning, right? Sophomore, junior year?
Yes, actually, I was contacted by a representative, a graduate of Harvard University. He contacted my parents and said, I used to be captain of the swimming team at Harvard. My name is Francis Powers, and I wondered if it'd be all right if we took your son to Harvard on a weekend. And they said, yes, that would be fine with us. And so as a sophomore, I visited Harvard. I spent the weekend with the captain of the swimming team and his roommates. I got my first glimpse at Harvard, and it looked pretty nice. And they contacted me again to stay in touch with me. And then my junior year, they brought me up again. It was a similar thing. Now I stayed with the diving team, and I met the diving coach, and he was terrific. He told me that he thinks that between him and I, he could make me a diving champion. And his name was Charlie Batman. And
the heck with Yale, huh? Yale wanted you too, didn't they?
It was actually by that time I was doing pretty well. So University of Michigan contacted me, Ohio State contacted me, Yale contacted me, and I had some nice offers. But Charlie Batterman, he was a winner, and I wound up saying, yeah, if I can get into Harvard, I would love to do that. And Charlie Batterman went to bat for me, Francis Powers went to bat for me, and lo and behold, I got accepted.
So this is Harvard. You were in the class of 59, so.
I was class of 59, and interesting, those pictures, the one on the left is the Naval Academy.
Oh, sorry.
They
all look the same.
I was at the Naval, now that pool no longer exists, and this one in the middle is the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. And this is in South America. I can't remember what country I was at, but I was, in that one I was stationed in the Navy. In this one I had just made the Olympic team and we're practicing at the Naval Academy, at the Air Force Academy. And this one I'm working with the State Department. I'm an ambassador of goodwill, I think was my title. And that was wonderful. I spent 3 months being an ambassador of goodwill.
Oops. We can.
And this is the IAB Indoor Athletic Pool. That's where we competed, and that is, while it still exists, the real pool now is a big, wonderful 50-meter, well-endowed pool.
Okay, Anthony Brannan.
He
Remembers you, if you don't remember him.
Anthony Brannan, Dr. Anthony Brannan now.
Yeah.
He's a retired Navy captain, Special Forces, medical doctor, author of successful books. He lives in Las Vegas, and we correspond via email from time to time.
You don't want to tell me about the story? When you had some adult beverages in Cambridge? There was a snowbank?
I don't remember it well.
He certainly doesn't remember.
But apparently we were competing for who could touch the light bulb on the street lamp and who could do what into snowbanks, and he published that.
Yes.
And it's on the internet about our, I think we must have been juniors in college by that time, but he felt compelled to put that down in history as one of our talents.
And that's what I found, so I wanted to ask about it. Okay, 1960 Olympic trials. It's in Detroit?
Detroit, Michigan. And it was the highest point of my diving career. And before Detroit, they had the national championships. Now, in those days, USA diving was the best in the world. It didn't mean we won all the time, but take country by country, no question about it, USA dominated diving. So if you did well in USA diving, there's a good chance you're going to represent the Olympic team. So I go to the national championships, I think they were in Ohio, and I finished third. Now all I got to do is finish second, I make the Olympic team. And I had a good meet. 2 weeks later, we get to Detroit, and I think I peaked from the wrong event. And so I'm diving well, but it turns out I finished 9th and didn't make the finals. Top 8 make the finals. So now they're picking the Olympic team, and it turns out that only 2 divers went to Rome, and the rest of us went home. And that was the peak and the end of my diving career. Now it's 1960, I've graduated college, I get drafted by the Army, I run down and join the Navy. And they immediately signed me up for Officer Candidate School in Rhode Island. So now, and shortly thereafter, I'm married, and shortly thereafter, I'm a father of a boy, and I'm at sea. I'm the USS Regulus, and I'm the gunnery officer. And so at one point, something came across my, not only when you're a junior officer, you do a lot of things. So not only, I like to brag about being gunnery officer, but I also did all the nitty stuff and office work and correspondence. And I came across a thing that said, if you think you'd like to try out for Navy athletics, send a note here, which I did. And little by little, they contacted me and took me off the USS Regulus and put me at NAS Alameda. And they said, we think we'd like you to train, see if you can make the Olympic team. And so I'm stationed at Alameda, and I'm finding places to go to dive, but it's not organized, and it's just in my spare time. And I found another document that said, if you think you'd like to do some with this and that, contact these people. And they transferred me from NAS Alameda to the U.S. Naval Academy. So now I'm stationed in the Physical Education Department of the U.S. Naval Academy, and I'm assigned to the swimming coach, and I'm given the title of diving coach. And so now I'm a physical education instructor, and I'm the diving coach at the U.S. Naval Academy, but mainly I'm there to train. And that picture you saw of me in the ceiling pictures, that's where we're training. And so I'm at the Naval Academy, and I'm working out every day, and I'm working harder and harder. But I realized I still don't have a coach. And so I stayed in touch with my diving friends over the years, and now they're gathering together. It's like 1963, and they're starting to put teams together, and I don't have a place to go. So I contacted an old Air Force buddy of mine, Bill for Ohio State, and he's Lieutenant Tom Gumpf, and he contacts Lieutenant Colonel U.S. Air Force retired Dick Smith, and convinces Dick, who's one of the greatest diving coaches in the world, that even though this guy is a naval officer, he's married, he's got a kid, he'd like to see if he can make the Olympic team in his spare time. Luckily, Air Force Lieutenant talks to Colonel and make a deal, and I'm invited to go to Arizona and train with Dick Smith. Well, it was the best.
Dick Smith Swim Gym.
Dick Smith Swim Gym. Thank you, Coach. And so I'm in Arizona, and we're training in a grand facility in the middle of the desert, and it's terrific. And we train every day, and we train twice a day, 6 hours a day. When we're not training, we're building strength. And so now it's Olympic trials, and Olympic trials are going to be at Flushing Meadows, New York, and we send the whole team there, and it's a good trials.
You see, we have, I know,
What they used to say about Dick Smith was, he didn't just teach us how to be divers, he taught us how to be champions. And that's a back 1.5 with 2.5 twists. This is a back 2.5. This is a reverse. Also tail the gator, reverse 1.5.
That's all I have for that.
And
So how did you feel about that? You did okay.
I did well. I won. It said I won by the largest margin in diving, U.S. diving history. I won by 100 points.
Wow. Excellent. Okay. Mrch. And now, is this the one where this is your uniform too?
This is my training uniform in Tokyo, and that's at Harvard.
So they don't wear the same kind of trunks that they do, I guess we call them.
Oh no, as you can see, I'm pretty well covered. These days, the male divers wear bikini-like things. They're not as well covered as we were.
Speedos, yeah.
Speedos, yeah. These are the top 3 divers. Larry Andreessen on the left, that's me in the middle, and Ken Stitzberger on the right. And we are the 1, 2, 3 Olympic team going to Tokyo on springboard diving, 3-meter springboard diving.
Okay. So tell me what it was like to be at the Olympic Village.
The Olympic Village was an extraordinary experience. We were in dormitory-like facilities, and boys here, girls there. But we got to meet all the athletes, many of the athletes in Olympic Village, because we breakfast, lunch, supper was our meeting times. It was kind of funny because we'd meet with Europeans, and it was nothing for them to be drinking wine at lunch. we didn't dare drink anything. But that was a funny experience. Another funny experience I had was with I was with some track athletes one day, and one of them said to me, "You're on the swimming team, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." Do you know a diver by the name of Frank Gorman? And I thought he was putting me on, because I knew who this guy was, and he didn't know who I was. His name was Bob Hayes, and he was the fastest man in the world, 100 meters. He went on to star for the Dallas Cowboys. Anyway, so Bob Hayes is asking me if I know Frank Gorman, and I said, "Yes, I know." "Why?" He said, "He's a diver, right?" I said, "Yeah." "I'm Frank Gorman. I'm the diver." He said, "I heard you're the best diver we have." And pretty good. I'd never met him before. But so that was kind of fun and funny. Also, I don't know if you remember Joe Frazier, champion boxer. Joe Frazier, when he won his gold medal, he wore it every place we went. We go on the bus, that's Joe Frazier. He's the gold medal champion.
I bet he didn't give his back.
He didn't give. I didn't know. He kept his. Because we couldn't always go to the games, we had to be working out or we had to be resting. I would wind up in the television room watching what was going on. My best pal in the television room was an Indian Indian heritage guy by the name of Billy Mills. And at the time, nobody knew who Billy Mills was. I didn't know who Billy Mills was. I just knew he was a runner and he had this interesting background. Turns out he won the 10,000 meters. He was the fastest long distance runner the USA ever had. Wow. And he's still alive, and we correspond from time to time. But that was miraculous meeting again.
So you're meeting all kinds of athletes that are the best in their fields. And what would you tell kids today about having that dream? They have a dream to become a runner or a boxer or a swimmer or whatever it is. What would you tell them?
Well, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, but it's a lot of fun. And if you really want to feel good about what you're doing, listen to your coach.
Okay.
And do what he tells you to do, and work at it.
There's a book that talks about the 100,000 hour rule. In order to get really good, outstanding like this level, you have to put at least 100,000 hours into it. Would you say that's true of you?
I worked long, hard, usually 7 days a week. Occasionally we would take off, especially if we were getting ready for competition, we would work maybe only 6 days a week. And the coach would say, rest, rest, just relax. But yes, it takes all that time.
What percentage of talent versus persistence and really doing the work? What do you think the percentage is?
The Olympic athletes and the athletes that we see on television today are extraordinary physical specimens. And they not only are gifted athletically, but they train on and on and on. It was nothing for us to maybe do 10,000 front 2.5s. And you do them and you do them and you do them. And you try to get in a regimen that you don't have to think about everything that you're doing. You've done it so many times that you won't make a mistake by just doing what you normally do. Because you always want to be ready for the possible drop of water in your eye, or stub your toe on the board, or something happens. So everything else happens automatically. You're ready for the thing that you didn't expect and can cope with it and still do something good.
Great. So here's some pictures of your form is incredible. I don't know anything about diving, but I'm just amazed at that. You want to talk about any of these pictures?
I recognize that I'm competing. Those are judges across the hall, and there are 7 judges. They take the highest and the lowest, and they drop those, and they take the middle 5, show up the score. And I am moving forward on the board in that one. In this one, I'm moving forward but spinning backwards. And in this one, I'm standing backwards and spinning backwards.
Wow. Okay. The 9th dive?
The 9th dive is something that I will never forget in my life, because we do 10 dives. And it takes a week. You do 3 dives, 2 dives, 3 dives, and so I think it was 6 days. So it's changed these days, but in those days, you did your 3 dives, next dive you did 2 dives, and you're working your way up to 10 dives. And all 8 dives, I'm leading by a good margin, and I'm diving very well. I'm well focused, and I'm doing a great job. Now, the 9th dive is a back 2.5. Now, when you saw the movie earlier on the back 2.5, that was the highest ranking dive in the Olympic trials. I got the highest score on that dive. So that's a good dive for me. Now, in the competition, some of the divers have spun a little too far on the back 2.5, and they've gone long. Just before I walk out to get on the diving board, one of the coaches in the audience said to me, "Whatever you do, don't go long." It was the worst thing I could have been told, because all of my instincts and all of my training was I always go a little bit long to make sure I'm vertical, and then I can adjust. If I'm not right on the spot, as long as I'm vertical, I can make my way into the water and do well. He said, "Don't go long." I went short. And that's me trying to get in the water, and I should be vertical, and I'm horizontal. So I got in the water, I'm okay, but I got low scores, and now I've lost my lead.
Oops. We have this dive.
So now it's the 10th dive, and my coach says to me, "Okay, now you can still do well. Just don't shoot the moon on this one. Just do okay." And all I can think about is, this is the last dive I'll ever do in competition in my life. I'm that old Navy officer with the married and the kids and then all that. This is that I'm going for the moon. And luckily, this is the dive.
Beautiful.
And it was good. It was the highest ranking diver for me.
What's that called?
That's a reverse 1.5 layout. And what I did was I walked forward, walking frontwards, and I leave the board and I spin backwards in a layout position. And that was my score. And it got me from about 6th place to 2nd. That's how I got the silver
You
medal.
want to see it again, guys?
Yes.
Oh, crap, okay. I don't know, I can't find my cursor now.
Okay.
Here it is. All right, here goes again. Not a problem.
Gator layout.
I love that shot of you in the water.
They used to be called the gator.
Okay, here we go. This is the last time, Steve.
This is the last dive.
Look at that concentration.
It's on YouTube now.
So good.
It was great to this.
Wow.
Makes it hard to live out.
And lots of people clapping.
Yeah.
All right, so it works out.
Did you know you nailed it with that last dive?
It felt good. It felt very good.
There she goes.
But you don't know until you see the judges' scores. And judging isn't always that excellent. Especially if a competing country judge is going to maybe lean toward one of the other athletes.
Yeah.
I noticed in that picture, there's 3 USAs with each had a medal, so USA went 1, 2.
We, USA diving, springboard, 3 meter, went 1, 2, 3.
Wow. It swept.
First and never repeated in history. That's the last time we ever did that.
All right, what's with these girls?
It's a photo moment. It's, they giggle and they get you giggling and none of them speak English. Yes, sir.
When you work out, you just dive? You like don't use the trampoline or go in the gym?
We're getting
You
to
just
that.
dive?
We're getting to that.
No, I started using a trampoline when my oldest brother George came home from the U.S. Navy, World War II. He became the sports director or something for his last battalion, and he found trampolines, and he brought one home to Queens Village, and I grew up with a trampoline in my backyard. He came home in 1949, so I was 7 years old, is when I started trampoline.
Do you want to talk about Dr. Sam Lee?
Oh, this picture over here on the right is, that's one of my heroes. His name is Dr. Sammy Lee. Dr. Sammy Lee was Korean descent. And it's an interesting background because he was not allowed to dive in certain pools, like in Pasadena, because of his ethnicity. He could only dive after, he would swim that day and the pool would announce that they're emptying the pool. Now, this is an enormous pool. That was a lie, they didn't empty the pool, but they said they did. And you had to let all the Korean types and other ethnicities. Anyway, Dr. Sammy Lee went to college, went to graduate school, became a medical doctor, became a war hero, and he became Olympic champion in 1948, which was the first Olympic Games, right, since 1936. 1936, no games. 1948, he won the gold medal on a platform, first Asian American to do such a thing. He also won the bronze on the springboard. And now, he was born in 1920, so you know how old he is. And now 52 Olympics come along, and some of his buddies are saying, "You're too old." And he wasn't going to have too old. He comes back in 1952 and wins the gold medal. So again, not only first champion to do such a thing, first Asian American to do such a thing, he's Dr., he's Major Sammy Lee, and he's Olympic champion Sammy Lee. And my hero, from the time I was 10 is when I first knew about Sammy Lee, and I wanted to be like Sammy Lee. That's it.
Okay, next one. This was kind of an interesting thing. It's a shot of you that appeared in Life magazine, but later became a poster that hung in people's, you know, all these guys who wanted to be on the Olympics, that they all had a poster of you.
Yeah, that's Tokyo. That was the way that was taken. I don't know who, I think it was the U.S. military that might have taken it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about your teammates. Ken Sitzberger, who came in first,
Right?
he marries a gold medalist woman.
Silver
diver.
silver
Oh,
medalist.
she's silver? Okay.
And she was my teammate with Dick Smith Swim Gym. She was my teammate. She was only a kid. She was like 19, and we were great friends, great teammates. And her boyfriend was Ken Sitzberger, and they married after the games. And this is Larry Andreasen. He won the bronze medal, and neither Larry Andreasen nor Ken Sitzberger are alive today. They died as young people. He was in his 30s, and he was almost 30. Gene Colley and I still communicate by email.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
They were both tragic accidents. One was, didn't he get in a fight?
Ken Sitzberger, I think it was New Year's Eve. People had too much to drink. A shuffle started, and he hit his head, and he never recovered. Age 39, I think.
And Larry died.
Larry Andreasen, we're not sure what Larry was going through, but he was coping with not kind of knowing what to do with his life, and ultimately he wound up on the something narrow. Oh, Vincent St. Thomas Bridge in Los Angeles, and he was going to do a high dive from the St. Thomas Bridge. Well, he was over 300 feet high. Nobody ever goes that high. High diving record is something like 190 feet. He jumped from 300 and something feet and did not survive. So,
But you knew what to do.
I
What happened?
had to make a living. It's not like these days where you just sign up and they pay lots of money. We had to actually make a living.
And so you did this how?
I went into into a stock brokerage business, and I was in the investment business for the first 10 years of my business life.
And then when Ma Bell decided to,
They eliminated the monopoly of Ma Bell, and I joined a little firm that was competing to replace some of the telephone systems and computer systems and the like, and we built a company around telecommunications. And
I think you met someone there too, right?
I met a beautiful blonde girl
That's what I hear.
who's sitting in the front row.
And that's his wife Patty.
And she was our best salesperson. Yes, sir.
Did you ever have any bad accidents, like hit your head on the board or anything?
Yes. You may think these are just wrinkles, but I have some remnants of hitting my face on the board, doing one of those things where you stand backwards and spin toward the board frontwards. Well, I didn't get away from the board far enough. Other than that, I hurt my legs on the board, too close, kicked out, hit the board. But luckily, as far as I know, it didn't affect me mentally. That's up to you.
Well, Frank, your career in Olympic kinds of things didn't just stop at the Olympics. You have a number of different ways that you paid back. I think are you still an active member of the U.S. Diving Association?
I'm still an active member of USA Diving. I'm still an active member of the World Acrobatic Society.
Olympic Committee and.
While I stay in touch with them because I communicate, I have a large diving list of communicants. And so I'm very active on the internet with the diving community. I know I don't travel as much as I used to. And while I used to judge the Olympic Games, I judged the Pan American Games, I've judged high diving, I've judged swift diving. I did that for years, and that was all volunteer work. And Special Olympics, I used to be very active with the Special Olympics. But I'm not as active physically as I was then, but I'm active electronically.
Now, you went to the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, is that correct?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I went to a couple of winter games. I went to Salt Lake City. I went to Montreal for the 1976. I judged Mexico in '68. I missed Munich. I forget why. But then '76 it was Canada. I went to those. And then '80 we didn't go to any place. And then '84 was in Los Angeles, so I was busy in Los Angeles. And then we didn't do anything till Atlanta. 1996 we were in Atlanta for those games. And then we what?
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City in 2002.
Yeah.
And
Torino.
And Torino in 2006.
Okay, the question I have is, how has it changed? How did it change from the time that you competed to the ones that you've been going to most recently?
There are some things that don't change very much. The facilities seem to be better and better as the years pass. The security right now is much more important. We could walk wherever we wanted. We could do things that we wanted. And now they're much more careful because we are vulnerable. The athletes are vulnerable for bad people.
Do the springboards change, or is that a standard?
Well, the springboards, that's a good question, because when I was starting out, wooden boards, we graduated to fiberglass boards, meaning wood with fiberglass covering. Then we went to aluminum boards, and those went through a series of changes, better. In around, gotta be, I'm thinking 1960-ish. An engineer invented a board called a Duraflex board, and he did it with extruded aluminum. And he built a firm called Duraflex International. It's in Sparks, Nevada. It is a monopoly. It has been a monopoly ever since. Nobody's ever been able to duplicate that board. And when you go to any international competition, you're diving on a Duraflex board. And still today.
They're all the same now?
The Duraflex, they get, depending on what pool you show up at, what year it was built, whether or not, what kind of spring it has and the like, but they stop at a limit. The board actually, if you're a big guy, you can press that board all the way down to the water. And you really don't want to do that. You want to press it as far down as it'll go, because you'll get everything that pendulum like. It goes all the way back. And you want all that impulse going up past your hips and helping you spin. But that's the Duraflex board. That's a long-winded answer to, what about diving boards? And so they don't make them any more springy today than over the last few years.
The World Acrobatic Society.
She wants to ask.
Oh,
I
I'm
just
sorry.
wanted to ask, our daughter's a springboard diver, so I dig all this stuff. I know what you're doing, I know. Anyway, in the Olympics, did they compete at 1 meter, 3 meter, and on the platform in your day? You were 3 meter, right?
I was 3 meter.
Was there 1 meter in platform at that time, or is
There
that?
was platform. There have been 1 meter. 1 meter has not made it to the Olympic Games. It still is not a
Oh, it's not an Olympic?
non-Olympic sport. 3 meter and 10 meter are the only heights. There are many, many more, I should say, there are several more competitions, like the synchronized diving.
Yes.
There wasn't that.
No.
But the main two were springboard platforms.
Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
you, it was like part of the Cold War in '64. Did you meet with any Russian athletes?
Oh,
Were you
dear.
allowed to,
We could interact easily, and we became good friends with Russian athletes. Chinese athletes in my day were not, in diving, were not good. Matter of fact, they followed us around. We'd always have a little trail of Chinese people. They would be taking photos of us, they'd be listening to what we said, and watch everything that we did so that they could mimic whatever we were doing right, and the films and the films and the films. And then they put it all together, and they made marvelous athletes, but learning from all of us that were then competing.
they were taking intellectual property back then?
You bet. And they became great. They are dominating the sport today, our sport.
Okay, any more questions? Yeah.
Did the water affect your ears all that time?
Always, from the time I was a little kid, because I liked going up. If I could find a high place, I would go up to the higher place. Well, I didn't know it, but it was bothering my ears. And today, Patty and I swim every day. I don't go into the water because even with earplugs, I couldn't keep the water out of my ears.
Yeah,
And now it makes me crazy. It'll stay in my ears for days. So I don't go into the water anymore. And I think it was a lot because I did from that time I was a kid. I must have done some damage or something in there.
Okay, well, I'm getting to the honors part now. And the World Acrobatic Society inducted you into the Gallery of Legends Hall of Fame in 2007. And that was pretty interesting because it was just acrobatics. We think about acrobatics being tumbling and all that stuff. But these were all kinds of different athletes, weren't they?
Yes, and anybody that's doing what the key word is acrobatics. And so if you think about a person doing anything more with his body, her body that she possibly can, that's a candidate, and professional as well as amateurs.
Okay, so,
This-
okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about that too, good. Where are you in these pictures?
This is interesting. Oh, that's me. And that's me, and this is me in the green shirt, and this is me. I found out that I can't remember the family name, but there's a famous circus family, and
Walenda.
Walinda.
They're in Florida.
I'll think of
It
it.
really doesn't matter.
Okay, anyway, it turns out, we lived in Sherman Oaks, and I found out that one of the family members lives in Woodland Hills, and in his backyard, he has trampolines, trapeze. It's an enormous backyard in what, when you drive up to the front, it looks like a normal one-story house. you slide to the backyard, and it's this enormous circus layout. And you're in arms, you're a throw from the 101 freeway. It's right there around Hueneme, if you ever want to find it. And that's me. So I went and I visited. I didn't expect to do anything, as you can see on how I'm dressed. And he's there talking about it. Listen, why don't you give it a try, says he. So that's me giving it a try.
Having a good time, I mean.
Yeah, having a good time. But it's still there, so I've taken the grandchildren there. And you can still go
You're
there.
never going back again until you triple your life insurance.
This was quite an honor. Phil
Yeah.
Boggs Award.
Phil Boggs was Olympic champion in Montreal in 1976. He passed, I can't remember what, I think it was cancer. And he died about, I can't remember, how many years ago. But that was a Phil Boggs Award, and it's a memorial.
Yeah. And then you got another one from the U.S. diving, the Glenn McCormick Award.
Glenn McCormick was one of the world's greatest diving coaches. Glenn's wife, Pat McCormick, was the first lady to win gold medals in springboard and platform. And Glenn passed away, I can't remember again, but it's
Come on.
oh,
This is the one I think means most to you. Would that be correct?
what did you say?
This is the award that meant the most to you?
Yes, the International Hemi Hall of Fame. Yes, that was a nice award.
Where's that located?
Where is it?
The International Swimming Hall of Fame is located in Fort Lauderdale. They've been trying to move to Santa Clara for the last 5 years. I don't know if they'll actually do that, but this took place in Santa Clara, and it's the highest award a swimmer can receive.
I love this.
Did you ever meet Greg Louganis?
Greg Louganis was a little kid when I first met him. I think he was 10 years old, and he was very talented. One of those acrobatic kind of boys. I think he was dancing by the time he was 5, and then he was tumbling. And name a sport, he could probably do it. And Sammy Lee spotted. Remember Sammy Lee from before? He spotted Greg Louganis because Sammy lives in Orange County, and Greg lived between there and San Diego. And he learned to dive in Sammy's backyard pool. And little by little, Sammy realized that you need a full-time coach now, and introduced him to Dr. Ron O'Brien. And Dr. Ron O'Brien, well, Greg still trained with Sammy when he won his silver medal in 1976 in Montreal. And that's when Sammy finally said, okay, kid, you got to move up. And then Greg became, in many of our opinions, he's the most beautiful diver in the history of the sport. I believe he still carries that crown. There are divers today that can do more tricks than any of us ever dreamed of, but nobody did them quite like
The style.
he was like a graceful dancer.
Some pictures, I have no idea what they are, but they showed up with your name on them, so.
That girl over there, I met in around 1980, and she and I got together, and we've been together ever since. Next picture is me, diver. Okay. American diving. She was head of USA Diving, and he was her highest diving coach working for USA Diving. He was Australian national and 3-time Olympian. These are just officials that I've known for probably 40 years. And this fellow with the red ribbon he's giving me an award of some kind, I can't remember what, but his name is Steve Clark, and Steve Clark won 3 gold medals and a silver in the 1964 Olympic Games. His only almost factor was graduate from Yale.
Oh, too bad, he would have been a good friend. How many candles on your cake last November 11th?
Would you believe 80?
80. And,
Octogenarian, I think.
and the last one is, of course,
That's my girl, and that's our pool in Surfside 4. Thank you.
you have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Think of all this, nowadays it seems there's scandal about doping and all this stuff.
It's the most extraordinary thing I've ever heard of. I have no idea. You know what I read a day or two ago? Not only is doping makes your mind boggle,
Yeah.
but I read that bicycle riding competitors are somehow secreting motors on the bicycle. Hidden motors give them the edge. The doping, I haven't seen, there's a new movie out, it's on Netflix. It's a little trying, I tried, and I wasn't able to stay with it the whole time. It's 2 hours long.
Icarus?
Ignorance.
Yeah.
And it is mind-boggling what they are willing to do and hide and all these tricks that they do to influence their body. And it's outrageous, it's thievery. And I hope they can find a way to detect it and put a stop to it.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Other questions? Let's give them applause again.
Thank you, Frank, for coming, and we've autographed the book, all the that are here today, they're volunteers. Thank you, Beverly.
Sorry.
So if this is a troubled dream, this is for you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you, Beverly, you did an excellent job. And it's nice knowing you married a Southern belle. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming.